All right, Blokes Podcast, episode 12. We have Josh here, NFT4Noobs.
How you going, boys?
Thanks for jumping on.
Thank you for
Appreciate
jumping
it.
on.
Thanks for having me.
So, firstly, it's a special day today. It's Are You Okay Day. So, how are you and are you okay?
Mate, I'm fine. I just came back from holiday, so I'm refreshed, ready to go, to be honest.
Nice.
What about you boys?
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
we're okay.
Yeah, no, doing great actually.
I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How
That
was
leads onto the second trip. How was your trip?
It was amazing. I've been going pretty hard, as you guys probably know, we're speaking off air. Going really hard with NFT4Noobs. Like, I've treated it as a business, doing content every day, like 12-hour days most days, to be honest. And then we just needed a break with me and my team, my partners, my co-founder. So it was just pretty much to get away, refresh, really like look back on everything. What do we love? Where's the next stage for NFT4Noobs? So it was really refreshing. Bali's amazing. You guys probably know about that, but yeah, it's been good.
What was the space like over there? Like, how are the vibes in Bali around the
it's-
whole crypto Web3 NFT space?
It's huge. It's actually huge. I didn't expect it. Like, when you went over there, I was meeting up with a few people to start with, but I didn't realize that there was such a huge event at the end of it,
Yeah.
which is CoinFest Asia. For those listening, you can look it up. And it was one of the biggest Asian crypto events, like in Indonesia specifically. And they had so many people there, hundreds of thousands of people that flew in from Singapore, all around Asia just to attend this event. And there was like probably hundreds of people there, VCs, you've got like DeFi people, you've got innovators, you've got tech people there, just like some people that didn't even know about crypto as well, that just want to learn about it. And it's so much. It really makes me bullish for the whole space, especially in like Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
And coming from here, then going there and seeing that.
Because they'd be such a big big part in the market as well, the Asian
100%.
countries as well.
100%.
So like a lot of people probably have seen your face and you probably look familiar to a few people as they've been scrolling through TikTok. And we want to jump into what you've been able to do with NFT4Noobs. But before we do that, we want to take it back to like end of high school kind of days. Like, were you always kind of entrepreneurial minded, always curious? And then how did that kind of lead to then university, to then what you're doing now?
Yeah, that's a good question. Not really, to be honest. I'm actually, like, if you see my content, like on TikTok and stuff, you'd think that like I'm very extroverted, but I'm not really. Like, I'm actually very introverted. I actually get really anxious in situations. Like, that's who I am as a person. So back at school, that was what I was like, because obviously when you're at school, you don't know what you're doing. I literally just followed the crowd, and whatever everyone told me to do, I did. Like, I did engineering because my dad did engineering, and like I did the high school, finished that just because everyone said that's the thing you have to do. I never went outside the box at all. It only got to the point where like I finished my degree, finished school, finished my degree, and I was actually working as an engineer for a few years. That I got to a point where like I knew I hated engineering when I started the degree from day one. I didn't have 1 second of enjoyment throughout that whole degree, not one. And even through the whole work, not 1 second. But I pushed myself so hard for like 7 years that I was like, it got to a point where I was so depressed. I'd literally rather not live than keep doing this. And so it took me a year to quit my job. That's how like introverted I am, or like not willing to take risks. Because like that's just how society kind of, I feel like, makes it out to be. Like, when you go to school, you're like, when you fail, it's a bad thing. When you go, they only reward you when you succeed. And so when you go through all that, you're conditioned to be like, okay, if I fail, that's a bad thing. But in reality, you need to fail. Like, I've been an entrepreneur for like the last 4 years. You need to fail to be able to realize that like where you want to go and what the things you don't want to do. Because if you constantly just follow the status quo and what everyone wants you to do, or what your parents want you to do and keep them happy, then you're never going to be happy. So that's kind of how it got to a point where I was so depressed that I had to make a change. But naturally, I'm not like that as a person. No.
Yeah, interesting. So then how old were you when you made that change and left the engineering space?
Probably like 24. I'm
And then-
27 now.
Okay.
Yeah. So for 28 this year, so about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what was the first thing out of that?
Actually, during my engine, because I was like, didn't want to take any risks. I was like hustling on the side, importing this really rare fruit from the Solomon Islands. It's called noni. It's this. It's like this really rare fruit that, like, you know, like turmeric shots, how that's a huge thing and has a huge phase. Like, people still do it worldwide. Noni is a version of that where it's like has anti-cancer characteristics, but it only grows in a certain space in the South Pacific. And I knew one of the like the people that was making it and bringing it over to Australia there, but there's not that many competitors. So like, it was really smart to bring it over and be like, have no competition. There's only one other competitor in all of Australia, and we're undercutting them by $20. So while I was working engineering from Monday to Friday, on the weekends, I would cold call everyone on the Gold Coast and cold visit all the health food shops down there to get this product in there. And I was essentially their marketing lead. And we got into like probably 6 or 7, over the span of like 8 months, 6 or 7 stores down there. And we're like making good residual income. And then we're moving up to Brisbane. But then it just turned. We just had disagreements with the person bringing the stuff over. So then I had to stop that after as well. But that was the first thing I did. That was like my first full entrepreneurial like journey. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like, fuck, how do you even think to go from like being an engineer to wanting to then scratch that itch with
I think it
selling
came.
fruit?
It came down to because I think it just comes down to like I didn't want my life. Like I just saw my life how it was for the next 50 years until I die. I was like, because I talked to the head engineers, I talked to like the senior engineers. I know what their life's like, so I know what's happening. I got 2 weeks a year. I have to ask for permission to take those 2 weeks out, and if they can say no to that, to me that's a prison. Like, and you know that every single other week of the year, month of the year, you're working for someone else. And in an engineering industry, I was doing fly at work as well. It's 12-hour days. You have no life. Like it's not, you're not living your life then. And then I think it got to a point where I realized that this is this harsh reality where I was at uni, I didn't have to do that. But when you actually work in the full-time job, you realize that this is the reality you're in. To me, it seemed like a prison and it was very depressing. And it was only until then I was like, well, what do I want? I want a lifestyle that doesn't reflect this. I still want to work really hard. Like I work still 12-hour days, but it's just something I enjoy and I can be wherever I want. And that's what I realized I wanted. And I'd rather die to achieve that. It'd take 10, 20, 30, 40 years to get there than do the same thing and be comfortable for the next 30 years.
Yeah, right.
Kind of thing, yeah.
So then how did you go from fruit to NFTs? What's the middle between that?
I actually got into crypto in 2017. So I bought like a shitload of coins back then. And as like most people did, we got ruined, like destroyed with the crash. So, but like what interested me more with the like engineering background was the actual blockchain technology itself. It's like I wasn't really interested in like how the money went up and down. It was just like blockchain's fucking crazy. Like, do people actually realize what this is? I know Bitcoin's cool and all, but like blockchain can literally change. Back then, I like would research how the voting system's fucked. Like the Australian government spends, I think, $7 million on voting through having physical people there and physical pen, paper and all that. And you can reduce that to $1 to $2 million if it was all on the blockchain. They don't want to do it on the internet because it's all cybersecurity and all that. But through the blockchain, it's all immutable. Like you can see everything there.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, so that's
Like
what I
that
was
analogy.
really. That's what interested me more back in 2017. I was like, this can revolutionize not just that, but so many other sectors because. Like blockchain can literally reduce like $5 million to the economy. It can just go straight back in instead of you having to. We still have to go in physical person to fucking vote. Like that's craziness. And so that's what interested me. It was like that concept. And then like, but then I was like, no NFTs went big back then. But NFTs to me, it's kind of extrapolates that kind of use case because it is like building culture. It has use cases outside of just being monetary value because you have like, and you could also digital identity. All these other things that can kind of come out of just being like a value based upon this imaginary coin thing. And so that's why like on NFTs, I found that in 2020, it was more, that intrigued me because I'm also a gamer. We were speaking about gaming before and I was like, you can actually own your assets in game. Like to me straight away, I was like, I remember, you guys probably remember Pokemon Blue back in when you were like I was like 1990, probably 8 back then. Imagine if I could have my first Charizard then as like if that was an NFT, I could have that today and still have it and look on my MetaMask and be like, this is nostalgic. Like that would be worth a fuckload of money if we could have done that. And to me, I'm like, well, that's what's going to happen with these kids like today. So the NFTs are getting created now, or not created, but like they're getting adopted now and getting developed. These kids, when they're 7 years old, 8 years old and getting Pokemon, when NFTs eventually does come through that or a different game, they're going to have the ability to be able to have these NFTs and Charizard or whatever and be able to hold that for the rest of their life. And there's value in that. So that's how I kind of thought of it. It was like, there's so much value in this and in the gaming sphere itself, and then kind of just sprouted out from there, like all the other concepts.
And then you just fell into it. Like,
And
how
just-
did you get into the content creation?
That was after. So we were, I was flipping for like about a year, I was telling you boys, and it was more about like flipping back when I first started in 2020, 2021. And just like for me, identifying historical NFTs was the biggest thing for me because I believe we're going through like a crypto renaissance right now. And that we just don't know it yet, where blockchain technology will come across and we look back in time 100 years later and look back at the internet right now and realize how centralized it was and how much power these entities really did have, like Google's and all that. They were just extrapolating data and we're essentially sheep to them because they can use it in any way they want. Like when you scan your Woolworths card as well, people don't realize, but you're actually giving them access to show your age, what you're eating, and then they sell that information to other corporations like Chobani. I used to work for them, so I knew this from the inside. That sell it to Chobani to show, okay, Chobani, your yogurt, these are your exact people that buy you every week all across Australia. And it's because when you scan your rewards card, like that's like how they're it's like people think it's like, well, I'm getting 10% off here and there, but it's more than that. It's like a matter of like you deserve more. Do you know what I mean? And And when we look back in time, in like 100 years time, we'll look back and be like, that was a centralized stage of the internet for about 50, 40 years maybe. And then after that really came the real like freedom of like the internet content creation and like everyone else. So I think that's like a big aspect that people are underestimating as well, is how we're living through something now, but when you live through something, you don't realize it until it's happened.
Yeah.
And then you look back and like it's hard to reflect on something if you're living through it as well.
Well, that's insane. Well, last time I used flybys now then. Hey? No, but that's so refreshing to hear you speak about blockchain technology and not like just the price action behind cryptocurrency and shit.
Yeah, I was literally just going to say, like, I completely agree with all of your opinions and the perspective of it all. It's crazy to see how well you are actually explaining it. And like, for example, if someone, and I know that's what you do for a living, NFT4Noobs, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy how that if someone out there that might be our family members or friends, they have no idea, could probably definitely understand exactly what you mean and the value. And I just think that's awesome.
I appreciate it. Yeah, that's what I try. That's what we try to do.
Yeah,
try to simplify these concepts because it's so complicated.
Yeah.
You can explain it. I use analogies. That's the best way to do it.
100%.
Like use the Pokemon analogy, use the gaming analogy, and that's just the best way people understand things rather than try to overcomplicate it.
Yeah, particularly just that politics one, the voting system as well. Like explaining that to my grandparents would just be like, they'd be like, oh,
Yeah, exactly.
rather than
Yeah.
trying to do it in other ways that.
Yeah, I
we
don't
try
even
and
think
do
I've
it.
even thought about how much money like going to the polls would even cost.
Yeah, all the people
Yeah.
that actually
Actually
paid it. Yeah.
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 Well, next question. How did you, or when, I guess, when or how did you build conviction in NFTs and in NFTs for noobs
Sorry, how did I
as the
build?
brand? So how did you, like, when did you build conviction? Like, when
Oh,
did
okay.
you realize?
To be honest, like this is gonna sound like real cliche, but I still remember the day, what I was eating, exactly where I was in time when I first heard about NFTs and it clicked. Because the first time I heard about it and I hated it was about an hour before it clicked because Logan Paul was releasing these NFTs. I think it was in like September 2020. And I remember hearing he released these Pokemon card NFTs, but it was himself. You had to buy them to be able to enter this raffle to get his Pokemon card. And I was like, why the fuck would you buy this random thing called an NFT? Why can't you just sell it normally? And I got really angry for about an hour. But then if I get angry at something, I always want to hear the other side. So an hour later, I remember exactly where I was. I was sitting out in my partner over house at the Gold Coast, sitting outside eating tuna and rice and avocado. And I remember putting in this podcast. It was by Yat Siu, the founder of Animoca Brands. He's a very early innovator in NFT investments and gaming. And I just remember the words he said, NFTs are going to revolutionize. I got a bit angry. Then he said, because right now we're in a play to rent system. And I was like, what is he talking about? I was like, when you game, you are renting the assets in the game. And I was like, what does he mean? Like, I own it. I buy a skin off Fortnite. I own that. And it's like, because right now, if you look at the conditions under Fortnite, on Epic Games, they can terminate your account at any time for no reason. The same thing happened with Tfue for those gamers that like understand. Tfue went and like rebelled against them, and he was known for having no skins and using no skins because so many of his skins got taken away from him because of something he did. And so that's when it made sense. He was like, with NFTs, you have a play to earn and you actually have ownership in the games. And I remember just sitting there and I got goosebumps. I left my food. I ran to my partner. I said, Taylor, this is fucking crazy. Like, I don't even know anything about it. I just listened to that and I was like, that concept itself. I didn't even know about you can buy art and all that. I just knew straight away at that first moment in time, I was like, this is what I'm going to be doing forever. And it's like a weird thing where it's like, it's cliche where like you don't know what you want to do and be passionate about until you know it.
Yeah.
And then before that, I'd been trying so many different things and we were successful in a lot of things, but we just dropped everything because I was like, this is what I need to do. This is just it. And it was just, I don't know why, just a mixture of like culture, a mixture of gaming, a mixture of nostalgia, a mixture of like, this is the future as well. Because I just know there's millions of other people like us out there like that are gamers or believe in digital ownership. And so it was just like that. And it was like a aha moment kind of thing. So literally from day one, I was like, this is it. And I went away and bought an NFT the next day, like straight away. Because I was like, bought the first Batman NFT, like researched like those stuff. And I was like, I'm buying this stuff. And I've just been like pretty much in the space since then.
Yeah.
That's actually such
And
a
then
good
when
story.
did you get into the content creation of it? Because I'm sure, like, being a young bloke, NFT for noobs, you would have had a fair bit of shit laid on you too, I'd assume. Like, when did you get into the actual content and how did that come about?
Probably November last year. So it's only been about, I think, 8 months or so since then. But it's not because I started flipping from late 2020 to about November 2021. I was just flipping in the space, just constantly just flipping, trying to profit off that. And we went full time into flipping in July last year because we were just making like a lot of money at that time. I call it the golden age where it was a lot easier. The project's a lot easier to flip. You can still be profitable now, but not as easy it was back then. But then after a while, I realized from that passion from the day one, I was like, it's cool and all making money here, but I believe in it as a whole. Like as I said, and when I didn't first learn about making money off it, I learned about play to earn. So I was like, how is this space going to go further? And if I want to be in this space, do I really want to just be a flipper the whole time? Or do I actually want to build something in this space? And then I came to a point where I was like, I want to be something more. I don't want to just be a flipper. I want to create a brand and make this like a long-term sustainable thing. And then I had also a few e-commerce brands at that time. So I already knew how to leverage like free views across social media. Because if you're in e-commerce, you know that a lot of your expenditure goes into Facebook ads, Instagram ads, all that kind of stuff. And if you can utilize a free way to do that, you can literally turn your margins from like 30% to like 80% if you do it right. So then I was like, why don't I just use that strategy that I was using for these other things into creating, and I also realized through creating a few e-commerce brands that it's hard when you create a product first, then try to sell it. If you do a product first and you try to sell it, people are smart these days. The attention span's getting shorter. They're consuming so much more content. If you have a product, they'll look at you, they'll look at your name. If you're called like Pepsi or whatever, they know what you're trying to sell straight away. So I was like, if I approach this now, I don't want to create like a product and then try and sell it. I'm going to create value and use like Gary Vee's model of like, this is value to the point where you respect this guy so much that if you do want to monetize later on, you can. I wanted to try that model out instead, and that's how NFT4Noobs came about. I was like, I've learned a lot in a year. Why don't I just try and teach some of that and create some new concepts that people might not understand, like the normies kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, I was just to finish on that. How did you? Because I'm sure you got a bit of hate from people you might know. Maybe how did you deal with the hate?
So I wouldn't say hate from friends and family, just like confusion, but also like. Yeah. You could tell they wouldn't say it to your face, but they were like, "This motherfucker's crazy."
You're a TikToker.
Like, yeah, or like for TikToker, but also NFTs. Like when I first found NFTs, I went to everyone in like 2020. I was like, "This is it, guys!" Like my family and friends. And for the first like 2 months, I tried so hard to get them on board, but none of them really wanted to touch it at all. So I was like, eventually, I just went into a hole, and I just like would lock myself in a room, and it was just like, I'm just doing this. I have conviction. Because imagine if everyone around you like. Right, it was like telling you like it wasn't the right thing, and even on the back then the media was so much worse. There was no meta. Facebook hadn't announced meta yet. Nike wasn't in the game. Adidas wasn't in the game. It was literally there was nothing. It was just one of one artists like X-Copy and shit, and like Damien Hirst and Beeple. That was it. There was like nothing else really steering the ship towards like mass adoption. So it was like the people that were around back then, even before me, I have a lot of respect for them because it was a daily struggle of like every day I'd wake up at least 10 times a day. I'm like, am I actually crazy trying to do this like thing? Where it's like, it's crazy. But like with the content creation thing and people hating on it, you just get used to it, I think.
Yeah.
You just get like, you build up, like even now, like I look at comments and they can really like affect your day sometimes.
Yeah.
They can, because like you're a human, and human beings aren't, I believe anyway, aren't meant to have so many opinions that thrust upon them to like deal with mentally, because then that can bring upon so much more like anxiety or like stress or whatever. So I just try not to read the comments if there are any. Have like a structure and have a goal of like where you want to go, and like it'll be like this all the way through. It'll be a shitstorm, but if you have conviction in what you're doing and you truly are passionate about it, no matter if everyone in the world, I'm sure Gary Vee has way more hate than I have and stuff, and he still does it daily. Like he doesn't care. He just builds thick skin, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I woke up to 17 Twitter notifications this morning, actually. Bit of a hate for us, actually, on Beefy Blokes account. So you just put like no attention into it, or does it cut deep occasionally?
I'll address it. To be honest, like if a TikTok video goes viral, to give context, you can't keep up with it. Like you can't keep up with the comments, and if it does go viral, 99% of the time they're all negative content, like negative comments. Because going viral on a platform that's mostly Web 2 with content about Web3 and NFTs, it's mostly negative. But I only address the ones that actually have like something good to raise. Like if they actually have something like really interesting that I can address and like help them understand, I'll address that. But if it's like a comment that says NFTs are stupid or you're dumb or
that's just like
you look ugly or whatever, then I'm not gonna fucking reply to that.
You always got to take it in your stride as well. Like it's almost like a confidence boost in itself. You're getting shifted in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. But it is hard. Like, don't get me wrong, it's fucking hard. Like some days, like just reading one wrong comment in the morning can set my whole day off, and it'll just like your whole like, oh dude, this sucks. Like
it just fucks with.
It just fucks with anything. I think you guys probably understand as well. Like running Beefy Blokes, like sometimes it might not even be that big, but you're just having a bad day, and then it just sets you off even more.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, well, for me, it's more like someone I reach out to for collab goes, that's shit.
Yeah.
You're doing something that makes no sense. Or like, your art is trash. I'm like, well, this is what I'm doing. I chose to have this art. Could have paid anyway.
I had one the other day at a work event. Sober, wasn't drinking. This chick's like off her fucking face.
Yeah.
She comes up to me at the bar. She's like, Lewis,
I don't give a fuck about NFTs. And I was like, well, like, are you referring to like my socials? And she's like, yep, your Instagram. I do not give a fuck and I will never give a fuck. And I was like, rightio there, like play on.
So, congrats, bro.
Yeah, it's
thanks
kind
for
of
letting
stuff
me
like
know.
that.
Dude, even I had that similar situation. We were out, and this girl I haven't spoken to in a while goes, "You post too much."
Yeah.
I'm like,
Sorry.
sorry.
That's the other thing, right? Like, I think that then segues into like you're pumping content.
Yeah.
Like how?
Oh, like a content
How do you
volume
just,
or
like how do you just keep fucking going 100 miles an hour and get the ideas? And
Well, you have a
strategy
team,
around
right?
it?
But
Yeah.
before you didn't.
No, but when I first started, it was just me doing it. And I would, like, I kid you not, 12 hours a day, I'd be doing it. Like, just content, thinking of ideas, because, like, everything I do is, like, strategized. Like, it's not just I pick up and I talk. Like, there's scripts involved, there's hooks, there's understanding how the algorithm works and all that. Like, 3-second hook, then you want to tell a story. And it's all about retention time. Different platforms have different things as well that you need to, like, abide to. It's just, I literally had so much, like, knowledge for after a year. And I was getting so many people I was talking to, like even friends were DMing me, how do I flip this? What is that? And I took all their basic like questions and just turned it into content every day. Like the most questions I'd get, but also like I had some fun with it. I was like, I realized I actually do like creating content, which is super weird because I'm actually really introverted and shy person.
Yeah.
But I like the process of being creative, which is like before, like when I went back to as an engineer, maths was actually my worst subject at school. I got a C+. And I was actually always loved reading books and I always loved like writing and English was my best subject. And it was like kind of coming back to who I really was as a person before going into what everyone wanted me to become and shape me into. So it was like, it's kind of refreshing. And that's where it's like this whole process has been kind of like a, what do you call it? When you're like finally getting back to who you are kind of thing. Yeah. And so that's how I kind of came about and I realized like some people hate it. I've tried to encourage everyone to do it. I'm not the smartest person in this space. I just want to do content. There's some smart people in this space where I encourage them like, please do content. Like you would give so much value out there and they're just straight away, no, I don't want to do content. I just don't like it. Some people just don't like it, but it's just something that I like doing. And I don't know about you boys, but like, you know, deep inside what you like and what you don't like.
What you enjoy.
Yeah, what you enjoy, yeah.
So then what's your strategy in terms of the daily post? Like how the fuck did you get to 200,000 plus on TikTok?
So we use TikTok as and I'm open about this. I've spoken to you guys before. Like a lot of people might gatekeep their strategy, but to give you like an overall, in the span of 4 months, we had 200,000 people on TikTok, Discord. I think we had like 170K on TikTok. I think like 10 to 15K on Instagram and like 10K on Discord. And that was in 4 months, which is crazy growth. 100%. And that's because I use TikTok as top of funnel. Because right now, like all the platforms, like it's hard to go on Instagram. You got to use Reels. Like it's all about like understanding what the platforms, they have like an agenda. They want to like TikTok, Instagram trying to become like TikTok. So they created Reels and they're going to make sure that people that use that new side that they're trying to use more and like get people to use more is going to get more views than everyone else. So it's understanding that TikTok also has more of a virality approach where you get 1 million views, like if you have like 2,000 followers, it can just happen. Because with TikTok, it's all about For You page. Everyone's viewing the For You page, not the following page. That's just how it works. So the chance of you getting on someone's For You page is a lot more likely than like an Instagram, because Instagram's all who you're following. You can see it changing now where they've got like people who you might be interested in. That's because they're trying to copy TikTok. But with TikTok, if you get like 1 million views, you have one call to action. Hey, DM me on Instagram NFT and I'll give you my free beginner's guide. Then you're going to get like 5,000 followers like in this really quickly because they all want to learn. And the content that I was doing at the beginning was all my flips. So I was like, I think at the time I flipped a Mecca for like 20 to 30 grand or something. Yeah. So then I showed them how to do it. So then boom, straight away, that was like one of my first viral videos. And we went to like 30K overnight. And there was just like heaps of people were DMing me. We got a DM from The Game, you know, the rapper.
That's crazy.
Back then, I went through the messages and he was just like messaging me and stuff like that. Like that was when I had like 30K. That was from one video on TikTok. And so that's why like you got to understand people are trying to grow on these platforms, but like if you use TikTok as top of funnel, yes, if you want a YouTube account, just use a call to action and go to YouTube. By the way, I do exclusive content on YouTube. And like I say it there first. So if you want to learn how to flip stuff, follow me on YouTube. Boom, you're going to get so many from a 1 million view video. Your average like amount of followers you get is around 5,000 to 20,000. So and I get like 1 million views probably once a month. So you're constantly just crazy growing. You can funnel some of that to other platforms. So it's all about the strategy, knowing like the top of funnel. Then you build your email list off also your, like I have a free beginner's guide that collects emails. So now we have like 8,000 emails. It's all just like a strategy from the start though. But it's because I approached it from the start as like a business and a strategy, not just as like, I'm just going to do it. And I had the idea to grow from the start, not just the.
There's
Well, you
intent.
also proved yourself first.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to know about what you're talking about. That was the hardest thing as well, because I also wanted to do it before in like other niches, but I didn't have the experience. I wouldn't say anyway. Like, if you have the knowledge, then you can never get proven wrong, and you can always have enough content to keep going off. Because I was in the space for at least a year, which is like a lifetime at that time. It was enough knowledge to be able to teach like noobs as well. And I'm also teaching very basic stuff. It's not crazy like in-depth stuff either. So
Yeah, well, I saw you put out. I went to look at it again and it was gone, but a beginner's guide for NFTs.
Yeah.
By the way, graphic design, that's crazy. I think that is just sick.
yeah, that's
Has you got much feedback on that?
yeah. So we had that's where we get the email list from. So we've had like 8,000 to 10,000 people sign up. I was actually doing it for free without collecting to start with. So there's probably like 5,000 to 10,000 people who missed out on collecting that. But we know that there's about probably 20,000 people who viewed that. And we've got a lot of, whenever they do it, I always ask up and we chase up like, hey, how'd you go? Do you have any questions?
Nice.
And most of it's really good. It's just like, hey, you helped me a lot. The biggest thing about it is that the reason we made it was because also to collect the emails, but also to help keep people in the space, because it was all the learnings I wanted to teach myself when I first started. Everyone always makes the first mistake of not selling the first NFT during the pre-reveal. And that's like, if you want to be profitable or if you want to flip in the space and like be in it longer, then just teach them that. So there's a lot of things that I wish I taught myself when I first started, so that people wouldn't make the same mistakes I would make, if that makes any sense. And so it's like also with the concept to keep them in the space longer, because if they make their first flip and it's profitable, they're probably going to stay around for longer. Even if they lose the next 3, they've got that bite, they've got like dopamine hit. Instead of buying, losing, selling, NFTs are a scam, I'm going to approach you at a bar and say, NFTs, I hate NFTs. That's
100% you're right with that, because there's definitely a lot of people that have been adventurous and tried NFTs, gotten fucked once, and they're gone.
Exactly, yeah. And that was a big problem as well, because like it is a business to start with, but I'm also passionate and I also want to onboard the next 1 billion users, and it's understanding where are the pain points. And it's like education is the pain points.
Yep.
And the best way to do that is through content, because everyone's on their phone 90% of the day.
Yeah.
So it's trying to teach them that.
Yeah, no, that's so smart. Like having a business and knowing the problem that you're solving. But I want to talk about, on that note of social media and stuff, I see you put a TikTok out the other day, but talk to me about censorship and how Web3 can really alleviate that.
Yeah, like censorship in general.
Like, so like more specifically, like
People getting banned.
Yeah, like,
Donald
especially
Trump.
like popular
Yeah,
dudes. Like,
that was actually one of the posts I did where I actually got a few interesting, like people thought I was supporting Donald Trump, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't mean it as that. Like, and I had to like reiterate that, like, just for context, I did this post, just talking about how like recently there's this controversial figure, Andrew Tate, who's just been like, he just went I couldn't get him off my feed. I don't know about you guys.
He's still on mine.
He's still
Like,
on mine.
there.
Yeah. I was literally like every second post, and as soon as I saw that, people were like getting annoyed, but I was like, this motherfucker is a genius. How did he do that?
100%.
Because I'm trying to do what he's doing.
Yeah.
And he was just everywhere, but he had a lot of controversial opinions as to like against like people saying he's like against women and all this kind of stuff. But he got essentially banned in the span of 2 days, like across every single social media platform, like just gone. So essentially, I did this post about how he got banned, Trump got banned, and how it's like, I'm not saying it's the wrong thing that they got banned, but is it right that there's probably like a group of 10 elitists in the top corporations like Twitter, Instagram and Facebook that just probably meet up and text each other, hey, let's just ban this motherfucker? Is that right? Like, is that the best way how we should be, like our digital identities and how we socialize on the internet? Is that it's like essentially banning someone's identity in real life? That's how I see it. Like, shouldn't it be like more of a community vote? So with Web3 and the content that I made, it was that if this was a Web3 like system, it would be more of like we all had a token and we could vote on whether Andrew Tate would be banned. And don't get me wrong, he probably would have gone banned anyway, because I'm pretty sure most people hate him.
yeah,
but
well,
at least,
he was leaning into it as well.
exactly,
to be
yeah.
fair, yeah.
But at least like give us the option instead of putting the power, because then it becomes this whole power elitist like.
Well, that's what you were saying before, is it's very centralized.
Exactly,
in
yeah.
a way. So yeah, I definitely agree with you. Yeah, like if it came down to a vote, yes, he would be
It
banned.
would've gone banned
But at
anyway.
least that way,
Yeah.
it was the people's decision.
Yeah, it's democratized. In a
Yeah,
way.
exactly.
Exactly, and that's what with my content, I'm just trying to, and it can be very confronting for people because it's concepts that they're not around yet.
They're not, no.
They're not around. So I'm trying to like open people's minds up, like, hey, this is a concept that could be a thing. Maybe like, and the more people that can see this will be like, maybe they'll tell someone else about it. And eventually, like the society itself will be like onboarded into Web3 concepts and more open to it, rather than the structure that these corporations have set out already for us on the internet.
Yeah, well, it comes back to Web3 being a wave of innovation that
Exactly.
will, generally just be accepted eventually.
So yeah, that's
yeah.
interesting because we've had a few conversations with people around like the cancellation of these big figures.
Yeah, you
and
love
it's
an
always-
Andrew Tate conversation.
I do love an Andrew Tate conversation. But it's like, all right, like, let's decentralize social media. But then it's like, well, hold up, you can't just completely decentralize it because some people are just going to go absolutely rogue and
Ridiculous.
It just
Exactly.
goes
Yeah, but then
the black
in
market.
a sense they'll cancel themselves, won't they?
And that's the thing. Like, I've never heard that analogy in the sense of, well, then the community can vote. 'Cause
yeah.
It's like, well, how do we do it? And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, it's as simple as
Well, that is kind of
that.
what it means.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way I saw it though is that I find scary. Like, imagine if Lewis runs a fruit shop, right? Like, just for theory. Like, what if I say I fucking hate Lewis, and then I just spread all this shit about him, right?
Yeah.
And then somehow Lewis's online business just gets cancelled, right?
Yeah.
And then that's Lewis's like, essentially like the way you feed your family just taken away from you. Like,
Well,
that's
yeah,
scary.
I put something up on LinkedIn the other day, and it was similar to that. It was like online ad reviews cost businesses. It was some mozza of an amount of money.
Yeah.
Like in terms of people just bagging these businesses and giving them 1 star.
Yeah, exactly.
And then if it's not legitimate.
Yeah.
So,
But I guess it fixes that in a way as well, because like,
Yeah, I
but there's
agree with
there's
you.
a thing going now with like the Google reviews. You can literally pay for it. I don't know if I watched this YouTuber called Arak, and he made this restaurant in LA. And he paid for like 2,000 Google reviews. So he was the #1 restaurant in all of LA, and he popped up #1.
That was funny.
That was so funny, and so that's still a problem in Web 2 now. But like the way that would get fixed in Web 3, I would say, is that the people that would be able to vote had to prove themselves to be able to have either visited the restaurant. They get like a PO app that proves that they visited, so they know what the experience is like. Then they can vote, rather than just getting anyone in the fucking world can vote and just like make an account and do it. So it actually fixes those issues as well if you do it
100%.
the right way, and you can have like PO apps that prove certain things before you can actually vote as well.
yeah. I'm curious, do you reckon it'll come to the point where businesses have teams within their organization that work on this sort of technology, or is it going to come
100%.
from somewhere like,
100.
for example, like, do you
100%.
reckon there'll be a PO app at this business, or is there always going to be a PO app?
Just to scale it back, like in my niche, like back when this was like 6-7 months ago, this is like just to give perspective on like even like another opportunity of people listening to like capitalize on this. But I was getting reached out. I only had like 30,000 followers on TikTok. I was getting reached out to, I can't remember the name now. They were the top European social just marketing company in all of Europe. They had like 500 employees. They had like huge clients, and they were talking to me, and I was like, I just asked them, I was like, why are you talking to me? Like, why do you want me to like, they were like, we want you to promote this and that. And I was like, but like, it was, I can't remember if I worked with them back then, but then it became to a point where I was like, why me though? and then this guy was like, there's no content creators that do Web3 content that can know what's going on. And even in his industry, he said, they just made me start a division, because when these crypto and Web3 companies came to me, they were to the whole company of like 500 employees, and they were like, hey guys, we need like Binance or whatever. Like we need content for that and marketing for that. None of the employees knew what to do. None of them. So they have to create these separate entities within their businesses that focus specifically on Web3 and crypto. Because you need to be knowledgeable in it to be able to market it and all that on. So I believe every business will be, and that's a real life example of like, so if you're like even knowledgeable in that, you can specialize in that within your business itself. Because I think they do need it, like in marketing specifically as well, because they're obviously gonna have a lot of Web3 clients. But even with like innovation, obviously the smaller companies like fruit companies and stuff, maybe not. But I can see like even like with engineering, civil engineering, you can use a lot of tokenization for even the assets they use with like the bulldozers, all that kind of stuff. I can see some use cases there, because they have like different, when I was an engineer anyway, they had all these different programs you could use for like management and like project management and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, even to take it like a step, little bit back from the companies that may not have massive head offices and massive teams, but companies that still smaller businesses that want to get into using this type of technology. That's why there's so many NFT agencies starting right now.
Exactly.
Because they'll go straight to them.
Exactly. Exactly.
Just like there's a marketing agencies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly that. Yeah. So I do think so. Yeah. It's either they get an agency or they have it internally.
Yep.
But either way, no one knows anything about it. It's literally happening as we speak now. The whole space is developing as like a brand new trial. So they're just trying to figure out how to do it. So I think it's just a
that's the
matter.
thing. Everyone's coming to people like us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because like we know more than it, like you might not think you know that, don't know that much, but you know more than 99% of the world.
Yeah, big time. How do you stay ahead of the wave
Like the wave is in like just in general, or
with what's happening?
with what's happening. It's a lot of research. Like I said, when I was in Bali for 3 weeks, I had to come back and spend literally like 3 days just reading through everything, because it comes down to just being able to stay on top of following, because right now there isn't any media companies as well in the space. That's what it comes back to.
What you are.
That's what we want to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we want to be a media voice in this space, because how I see Web3 is that It's literally Web 2, but just like starting from zero again. You need media, you need fucking anything. You need content creators. That's what I'm doing, media and content creation. But you also need agencies. You need marketing. You need everything again.
Everything.
And so that's what like a lot of people don't realize is that you can specialize in Web3 in those niches and be the only one there that have a lot of market share. So
especially if you're in it now and then it gets bigger.
And it gets bigger, exactly. You're already
True.
you're already ahead of the curve.
First mover advantage.
First mover
That's
advantage.
such an interesting perspective as well. It's like if you've got the marketing degree, or if you've got, like, say, for example, me, I got a law degree, or advertising, copywriting, whatever it is that you've got, you can apply it into this space and be a first mover in that.
Exactly. That. Or let's just understand how the community works and how the space works, and
just
you can
dive in.
and just dive in.
Where do you read? What do you watch?
It's honestly, and that's why I was coming back to like the media thing. There isn't any media outlets. So it's really a lot of people. Like you follow these influencers on Twitter specifically. That's the best place to get a lot of information. Follow what they're saying, because like sometimes they outlet some stuff that's like they're just plugged into the space as well.
Yep.
They just know a lot more than other people. That's where I got a lot of my information to start off with. But now there are some little pages popping up on Instagram and stuff as well that pop up with the news and just give you daily updates. There's this website called Bonkalytics. They have like a news section as well that I go through. It's just like literally every hour there's news articles coming out, and you can kind of read through them one by one and see through there as well. But it is a lot of, take at least an hour to a day trying to get through all that to just keep up to date with everything in the NFT space.
Yeah. So it is that full-time job. Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and we're treating it as such. But on that note, where do you see, so NFTs now, you have the gold rush where you can flip like fucking anything and make money. And then currently we're in this phase now where people who lost money are out, people who made a fuckload of money are also out or still in. Yeah. Where do you see NFTs or Web3 rather, maybe in like 7 to 10 years? Like where are we going?
What's the evolution look like?
Yeah, for me, like I think we discussed this last time I saw you. We were like, people in the space since the beginning, or like at least the last 6 to 8 months, think that like the PFP phase is dead. But then I think I mentioned to you, I was like, but everyone knows, like, if you've consumed NFTs, you bought your first one. It's like crack. When you buy your first one, you're like, holy shit, I actually have ownership over this digital thing for once. For me, it felt like crack anyway. I was like, this is like amazing. Like what? Like I want more now. And so to me, I don't know if PFPs are dead, because we still have billions of people to experience that. Yep. It's just a matter of, I believe, whether like the experimenters, we went out, figured out how to do MetaMask, figured out how to do Binance. But when those, over the next year or so, when Instagram has NFTs now, and people are going to want to buy NFTs to flex there. And what are they? They're static pictures, essentially PFPs. I think we could see maybe like another PFP boom again once the user experience improves. It's all about user experience, in my opinion. If that doesn't improve, we're not going anywhere. Yeah. But once it does improve, I think we can go through these little mini booms again where we can capitalize on, because we already know what'll happen. But I think, to me, it's all about user experience with the games. I think gaming NFTs are going to absolutely skyrocket the market as well, because like obviously having in-game ownership as a gamer, and the gaming industry is bigger than the media, bigger than the TV industry, bigger than the film industry, bigger than all of that combined by like even more. But if that industry takes it over, then it's absolutely going to boom. But they need to focus on first the user experience rather than trying to push forward that it's play to earn. Because it's only going to get adopted in the gaming industry, I believe, if people actually love the game first, and then they realize they own the asset, and then it's just like an addition to the experience. You can't come in with, hey, it's play to earn money off this, plus enjoy the game. It needs to be enjoy the game, then you can earn certain things, and this is actually a different type of game. Then I can see that being like the next kind of boom. And maybe like in the real estate market, there's this company called Proppy that last year they were the first company to actually. It has to go through all the legislation to be able to assign tokens to real estate, but essentially on their platform, in 2 minutes, you can have ownership over a property, like straight away. Like
2 minutes.
That's how quick it was, the process, 2 to 5 minutes. And that's with because it's all tokenization on the blockchain. I believe I'm waiting for now, like in Australia, for that to happen, where like this one company just integrates blockchain through all the real estate companies, and then it's just going to just boom, because it'll be like the user experience just goes crazy.
Well, me and Husey wanted to do that.
Yeah,
oh, really?
And then we were like, that's probably going to cost a few mil.
Well, maybe to come. They'd have to make a couple of real estate agents pretty pissed off. Though.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, see, that's the thing, right? To play devil's advocate from, say, like Epic Games, for example, like what's the benefit for them in
gaming,
in using blockchain technology in their game? Like they're making a fuck ton of money from people repeatedly buying skins and not being able to sell between user to user.
If I can interject, I think it would be, maybe, I don't have an opinion on them, but it's when when their consumers, their players start going to these games, then they're going to have to adopt. They're just going to have to.
Yeah.
They're just going to have to. There's no other choice.
Yeah. And then there could be like a royalty clause on that NFT or something.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the thing. I use the Blockbuster analogy where Blockbuster, they could have bought Netflix, I think, for a few mil, but they said no because like no one's gonna fucking watch stuff online, this internet thing. And then because they didn't want to innovate, they got left behind and they're nothing now. But the other argument as well, because this is the number one argument I get on my Instagram when I do gaming content. They're just like, they say the same thing. It's like, I think Epic Games makes $7 billion a year off fucking skins, dude. They're actually a digital fashion company, if anything, because they're selling, make more money off digital fashion than the actual game itself.
Take away from you in a second.
Just take away, but it doesn't go anywhere either. Like, where does that money go? Like, nowhere. Like, it just goes back into the game, really. But like, you don't own it. It's just like essentially selling you this like blank thing. But I think as well as it's interesting for them because they got to innovate because like what he said. But also, if they can create an ecosystem where they can actually sell assets, then they can actually make more money off the secondary royalties. Because right now you can't sell your skins. But imagine if and they don't even have like a quantity thing on there. Like imagine the Black Knight in Fortnite. If you're a Fortnite player, you know that's like one of the OG skins. If you know there's only 1,000 of them, you saw one running around, you put in an offer, I'll pay you $50,000. Fortnite takes 10% of that. They're making $5,000. So imagine if they would get hundreds of thousands of transactions every single day. They'd probably make more money than just this one transaction going to one person. There'd be this and that going everywhere. Plus they get a royalty off that. Plus it's open. Plus they open up to another game that character can play there now. That's just constantly royalty stream going through all these different games. So I think they can actually make it a lot better and earn a lot more money. It's just a matter of innovating, and they're probably lazy and they don't want it to happen because everything's running smoothly now.
Well, the reality is every single one of these big companies, I can tell you right now, have started building.
Yeah, they are.
Epic Games on there. If you go on Epic Games right now, there is a game on there that they say is launching at the end of this year that has blockchain technology integrated. So they are, because they know that if they don't do it,
they're fucked. Yeah, they'll get left behind. Yeah. And when I went to this crypto conference as well, there was this metaverse guy who just like strategizes with the top companies in the world about the metaverse. Some really interesting concepts. But he was saying as well, he's met with Epic Games people, and Epic Games is like the second. Like they're putting the second most amount of money into the metaverse as well, like that people don't really know about, or they're really interested in the metaverse.
Yeah, that's valid. It's definitely
as
valid.
they should be.
Yeah. What do you say to people? I feel like a lot of people come into the space wanting to make money. Like that's the main driver.
That's the main driver.
Yeah.
What do you say to those sort of people that are wanting to do that? Is there still that opportunity there, and how do you capture that?
There definitely is. Like you can, I'm confident if I just went back to flipping, I could still make money off it. Because there is like opportunities like Utes just happened. You could have sold that for $5,000. You bought in for $300, and that's USD. Like that's a good flip. But even back in the good days, that's a decent flip.
It's a great one.
That's an awesome flip. Yeah. So there's definitely opportunities out there. It's just a matter of doing the research and understanding where to look. Like when I was making, in my flipping days, I sat in Discord all day, and I'll just go from Discord to Discord to Discord, find alpha Discords, and all that, and learn off other people, because that's the only way you can understand how the space works. It's still possible, but it's very sporadic. Like you might make like a really good flip one week, the next week you might not, then you get like 3 good ones in a row, and you might not see anything at all. So it's also understanding that like what the market is. The market's really shitty right now, so you shouldn't force as many risky ones. Whereas like in a bull market, you can take more risks. It's understanding the market and how that comes, which is why I don't actually suggest flipping straight away. I suggest like learning from people. And then like I didn't flip for like first like 3 months. I just like would buy things because that I thought would be valuable, and then try to flip after that because you're just going to make mistakes, and that'll really deter you from being in the space as well.
Well, yeah, Jackson gave me a good piece of advice in the early days. You're like, look at the project, write down or make a mental note of how much you would have bought it for, and then in 6 months' time, look at it again and
Not
see
6
what the
months,
price.
but yeah.
Oh, well,
However long.
That's a good way.
Bro,
Well.
we're in the bin in that space.
It's like
mate.
you're actually
True, yeah.
You're fucked.
like 6 days or six weeks.
like you're acting like you bought it in your head.
Yeah, and
But
that's the same with like stocks and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But to take it away from flipping, because obviously flipping is a thing and we've spoke about it, but I'm sure you understand that if there was other ways that people could make money, would be to content creation, starting their own project, if they're fit enough for the, like, would you recommend people to get into that side of it?
100%. Like I said, it's like Web3 is just a flat plane right now, and it needs everything. It needs media, it needs projects, it needs agencies, it needs specialists, it needs consultants, it needs everything. Literally everything you can think of in the Web2 space, it needs it exactly the same, one of one, because it's a space that's going to grow, it's going to be big. They already predict like the metaverse to be a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and the metaverse is under the umbrella of Web3. So the Web3 itself is bigger if you think about that as well. So it's an industry that is all these companies looking into. The biggest tech companies are looking into investing into. Google's umbrella company Alphabet something. It was their biggest investment in like I think ever. They put into like metaverse projects and stuff. So I definitely recommend it. Just find your niche though. So don't go to the flipping, or if you don't think the project's the right thing for your content creation is right for you, just go with like what you enjoy in Web 2. If it's like, if you're in real estate, then like, okay, how can this disrupt the real estate market? Okay, maybe I might go and figure out how I can disrupt it through blockchain tokenization with real estate assets. Or if you're in engineering, like figure out if like tokenization of bulldozers, or like, because there's so many things moving around in a project that you can tokenize some of them, and that's actual immutable on the blockchain. People can't change that instead of a spreadsheet out there that can be changed or can be wrong. Like different ways you can think about it, and like you can innovate in your own separate way in your Web 2 like version of what you're interested in.
Yeah, no, definitely automatically supersede some drawing sets or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that gives me nightmares thinking about that.
I fucked one up the other day.
Oh, really? Dude, that actually gave me chills. I fucking hated doing that. It was the worst.
Why is this some building thing?
Yeah, you wouldn't understand. Some building, you wouldn't understand. Brother.
Oh, fuck off, mate. Get off it.
No, but honestly, Josh, it's so refreshing to hear you say like I'm an anxious guy and then started content and shit. Like it's genuinely so refreshing. Like blockchain, understanding technology first, price action second. Like everything you're saying is just so refreshing for me.
100%.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Now, this is a question that gets thrown around a lot, but how would you describe NFT for Noobs in one word?
In one word, I'm biased, so I don't know about one word, but like I just say media, because people look at it
I knew you were
like
going to say that.
Yeah, media would be the word I'd say, because like people look at like social media people as like, and I was explaining this to these guys, and I think you guys will get a lot of value out of this as well. When you see a social media person or page, you just see them as like, oh, they're just doing content. But think about it. What do you do 90% of the day? You're on your phone. You're on the internet. What are you consuming? You're not consuming the news. You're consuming Instagram. You're consuming TikTok. You're consuming Twitter. So essentially, they're more powerful than the news themselves, because the news people are only on for 2 hours a night. No one past the age of like 15 is watching the news,
absolutely.
or below the age of like 25 watching the news anyway. So like essentially, these guys have power because there's power in attention. Attention to me is more powerful than Bitcoin, because if you have attention, you can move markets, you can move people, you can move community. And so for me, it's like media, because I looked at NFT for Noobs as always the goal to be a media company from the start. I wanted to grow it, and now we're growing. We have like a team of 4 to become a daily media content outlet and become something big in the NFT Web3 space. Like I'm big into manifestation. Like every day I'll write down my goals, and like I'll do this like meditation for 20 minutes to try and like, I'm big into like also the quantum realm and understanding that like this is our physical realm, but like if you can manifest the right way, you can actually like approach your destiny or your goals quicker, because it's a different dimension that we're all energy in the end of the day. And so our energy, and we can only access it through our consciousness, which you have to meditate through to get to. And so that's what I just literally every day I say media. This NFT for Noobs will be one of the biggest NFT media brands in the space. And that's my goal for the next 5 to 10 years, is to make that dream kind of come true.
I fucking believe it.
Now we're going to go on a tangent, because like what you just mentioned, I want to tap into a bit more. Like, what is the daily routine? And like, I want to know those little things that you do,
Like the quantum
like
realm.
similar kind of like the like how Iman Ghazi talks about his monk mode. Like, what like what do you do?
I am, because I struggle dude, I'm honest, like I struggle mentally a lot, because like just with like I get anxious, and I get like a lot of the stuff like I overthink, and like I'm different in that way. Like I get very anxious and stuff. So for me, it's like trying to tame that beast internally is like something I need to do daily. So for me, meditation's been like a huge thing I've been doing. Like I've been trying to do consistently, at least for the last like 2 years. Recently, I found this new type of meditation it's called Joe Dispenza. He's this smart, super smart guy, and he backs his like meditation up with science though. So he talks about how when you meditate, you're actually tapping into like the quantum realm, which is like another realm that we can't access, because we're on a 3-dimensional plane right now, and it's a plane that we can only like physically control. But you can do so much more with your mind. Your mind over matter is like a huge thing. So if you can control your mind, you can control so many things. So with his meditation, it's all about like how you put yourself in that situation in the quantum realm to be there where I'm sitting there, and NFT for Noobs is the biggest thing. Or I want to live in America, and I'm sitting there and I'm having a beer or sitting like in New York City or somewhere like that. And it's like being there in the quantum realm first, because then eventually the universe will come and just make it all happen. Through hard work, obviously you got to work for it, but you got to be there here first before you can get there physically. If you're not there and you have a strong mind,
I love that.
and you're not there here, you can't get there physically, because your mind controls your body and it's all interconnected. And if one's not there, then the other one cannot go there. And this is the first thing that sets everything else up, is the mind. So that's like the meditation is the first bit. It takes about half an hour to about 45 minutes. And then I have like a diary, which I've only started doing, to be honest, for like the last 2 months. I'm writing down like 3 things I'm grateful for. Because if you're in a state of gratefulness, you're also more open to being actually achieve your goals. If you're angry, if you're depressed, if you're sad, you're anxious, then you're going to be in a lower state of frequency, which is that you're going to be just stuck on the physical realm. But if you're grateful, you're open, you're happy, you're loving, then when you're in love, then you feel lighter. You're essentially sending out different energy. And so when you're in that gratefulness, I do 3 grateful things I'm grateful for and really focus on it, because then I'm in the mode to manifest. And then after that, I do 3 or 4 things I'm manifesting, and then I'll sit on that for like 30 minutes, and I'll literally like sit there and be grateful, and sit there and like close my eyes, say it 3 times, and be grateful for it. And then the 3 things I'm manifesting, I'll sit there, picture where I am when that will happen. Like once that is happening, and some of the stuff that has been happening recently is crazy. Like when I went to Bali, we had some of our best brand deals with NFT4Noobs. Like we had our best month we've ever had, and I wasn't doing anything. I was literally like, we were doing the least amount of work, but we manifested we'd be in Bali, and we manifested because me and my partner both do it. And again, then people out there that are like suspicious of it, like, oh, he's crazy, but it actually worked. Like, it's crazy.
Oh yeah, it's just proof in itself.
It's just proof,
like,
yeah,
that it is true.
And it's the science behind it, because like I don't like the gypsy stuff where it's like I'm gonna go see this person, they'll tell me the future. Because I'm an engineer, I'm analytical. I need to see the science behind it, and he explains it in a scientific way that actually makes sense. To a way where he's like, your waves, we're all particles. If you look at it from a quantum physics perspective, we're actually 99% nothing. Like atoms are 99% nothing. So essentially we are mostly energy and we're mostly nothing, because like the atoms that we are made up of are 99% nothing. So it's all about energy and waves. So it's like really interesting. Like I definitely recommend you guys, because it's completely changed.
What's his name again?
His name's Joe Dispenza. So he's
Crazy. I've had at least 5 people tell me about him.
Really?
That meditate.
Dude, it's fucking like, I literally like, I know, like like after the meditations, I'm being completely honest, it literally feels like an orgasm. Like that's how fucking crazy it is. If you do it right, and you sit there,
is it him talking? I've never actually done it.
No, because it's another person talking to the one I'm doing, but it's like more about like being open to. He walks you through it. It's like, hey, focus on, because first you have to be present, because you can't manifest the reality unless you're present. Because when you're present, then you're really focused on what's here in your consciousness, rather than thinking about the bad things that happened in the past. Because everything we think about in our brain is what's happened in the past. And if your record of the past is constantly fuck ups, or constantly things that you don't enjoy or you've hated, or it's not somewhere where you want to be, then how can you create a future if you're constantly waking up and you're already in the past straight away? When you put yourself in the present moment, then that's when you can create. Because then when you're in the present moment, then you start shaping, and your brain matter actually starts opening up new things that you can create new things with, and futures that haven't happened yet, but in the quantum realm you can make happen through the energy you're emitting and the frequency of waves that you're trying to attract in your life as well.
Yeah.
The universe is all energy. If you're sending out a certain frequency, you're going to attract that back. That's why, like, if you have a toxic girlfriend and you have this history of getting toxic girlfriends back to back to back, it's probably because the energy you're emitting is the same that they're trying to output as well. Or you fucked up so many businesses in the past, it's because, and you make the same mistake, it's because you're not trying to improve yourself as well.
I'm just looking at someone over there.
Oh, really?
I don't know why I'm looking at him.
No, I love that though. That's powerful.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, but sorry about the tangent.
crazy.
I'm just obsessed with this stuff. Like, it hits so helpful.
And there's probably people that found value in that, and they're going to go and
Fucking I found
Well,
value.
I'm going to go.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I've picked up about you though is consistency. Like you are consistent in everything you do. Did that take time to do? And like, how do you stay disciplined?
No, I honestly, from the day one, I just started pumping. Because like I said at the beginning, I was like, I'm going to start this, and this is going to be like a business. And I was like, that's just what I want it to be. Like, it's going to be a media brand. That's what I wanted it. Yeah. That's why I was like NFT4Noobs from the start, not Josh Reiher. Because NFT4Noobs is like more the memeable brand aspect in the social media these days. Like, it was just like I had a goal and I wanted just to set up for it. And I just love this. Like I said, I'm passionate about the space. I wanted to be in this space for the next 10, 20, 30 years. So it's like, this is just going to be a thing, and that I'm just going to have to go for it.
So like what Lewis said though, how do you stay disciplined though?
It's hard. Yeah, it is really hard. Because like when I first started, I was doing myself. No one, like, content creation is very lonely.
Yeah.
Like there's no one out there that like is, and when you're small, the big dogs don't want to talk to you. And then like that's why when the small people reach out to me, I speak to everyone.
Yeah.
Like even if they have like 5,000, I'll get on calls with them, because like I know how hard it was to start off with. But it's like, it's just, I don't know, it's just a matter of just being just loving what you're doing as well, I guess. Yeah.
For sure.
What if someone's sitting there and they're like, all right, like I want to do content, but it's already oversaturated?
It's not saturated. No way, dude. Like, I'll give you an example. There was this page. Like, I don't consume content at all, by the way. Like, I only consume it to like strategize. Like, I've watched this Airac guy. I don't know if you know him now.
Oh yeah, I love his shit.
He's fucking so funny.
Mr. Beast.
Exactly, and Mr. Beast as well. But I just consume content now just to see how they do it.
Interesting.
And how I don't watch.
He's a genius.
He's a fucking genius. And have you listened to his podcast?
No, I haven't.
Nah.
Oh, you got to listen to it because he started when he was like 8 or 10.
Really?
And he did it, and he started YouTube, and he just did it, and he's every time they ask him like, why'd you do it? It's like, I just love YouTube. That's all. He didn't care about the money. To this day, he didn't care about the money. When he first was making his brand deals, he would spend it all on like giving away money for the video and making the video as viral as possible.
That's
all
what
he
Steve
cared
Will
about.
said the other day as well.
Yeah.
He said his bank's not big. He's pumped it all back into it. And that's
Exactly.
why he's a bit stressed.
Those
at
are
the
the
moment.
three that pump, like you
That
see
pump
them
out.
put the money back
Yeah.
in. You
Exactly.
literally see it.
Yeah.
And just recently, I've been like literally last night I was up until 3 a.m. Part of it is because I enjoy it as well, but watching the Nelk boys again to see how they start, and I'm trying to like see how, because they're huge now, but when they started, you can see their growth and what they did, and they're just throwing money back straight in as well. Like they have no money at the beginning, and they're constantly just throwing it back. But it's like understanding as well, like how everything works and how these guys are strategizing. You got to listen to Mr. Beast ones as well. It's fucking crazy.
It's so crazy that you say that because I literally think the same thing. Like I don't even do content, but now when I'm looking at like a video, I can like pick up
on the
strategies
things.
that
Yeah,
they're doing.
exactly.
It's like that 3-second hook on
3-second
TikTok. You
hook.
can see why.
But with
videos.
Mr. Beast and Airac, for example, it's the way that they flick, like it's insane.
I'm the biggest fanboys for those two because they do way more than what I do. I can sit there and script stuff and record it, but they actually got to go out.
They have other people around
other
them.
people involved. Like that would be so hard and so difficult, but they do it daily and weekly, and they keep on pumping content out for years, and they just like, you can see it. It's like their strategy is fucking crazy. Airac's, I honestly think Airac's better with his recent videos, like his hooks, the way he speaks and stuff.
His videos are more enjoyable in my
More
opinion.
enjoyable, yeah, exactly. But Mr. Beast just has more of a legacy right now.
He also has the kids.
And he has the kids as well, yeah. But then it comes back as well. The legacy Mr. Beast had was when he started, YouTube wasn't a thing. And you can use that back to NFTs and Web3 now. If you're a legacy brand in the NFT space, whether you're a project, whether you're a media brand, in 5 years' time, it doesn't matter if you're not successful or you're running neutral. You're a legacy brand then. And Mr. Beast, that's why he's better than Airac, when essentially I think Airac's better than him now. Yeah. But he's always going to have that over Airac because...
It's the same with art, right? That's why even like only 2017, which is not really that long ago, 5 years ago, that's why... CryptoPunks have that value because they're they were the first.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you on
exactly.
that.
And their founders aren't doing anything. If essentially they're actually really bad founders because they've done fuck all for CryptoPunks, and they sold it to to Yuga. But like the legacy's there, history's there, and that's another opportunity for everyone listening as well. Now, like even if you do fail in a few times, you're gonna find something eventually, and you're so early that you will be a legacy brand essentially.
Yeah.
Well, I think. Last question, honestly, unless you got another one.
Yeah, well, one thing I picked up on the other day was Logan Paul put out that 99 Originals YouTube video, and it was like it was like 50 minutes long or an hour long, and I kind of hovered over it, and I'm like, I'll watch it, but I'm not going to sit here and watch for fucking that long. And the next,
I watched all of it. I'm not
was
gonna lie,
done.
I loved
that
it, dude.
motherfucker, the way he sent it out, it was like post it, and then it was like a bit of audio, and then it went to the video, and it wasn't long enough that you then clicked out of it.
Yeah.
Where do you reckon they and you, like for example, that 3-second hook, and then educate and then solve the problem.
Yeah.
How do you get these strategies real quick? Is it just the over absorption of content?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I don't consume TikTok or Instagram at all, like for the fun of it. I do it strategically for like business. Like I'll sit there, like when I came back from in Bali, like I have no notifications on. So I'm actually anti social media. Like I hate how much dopamine hits it gives you, and like it really sends you, like right now, like I only have like my partner's thing on and like that on, but like usually right now this would be fully covered with notifications. I have it all off because like even though I treat it as a business. It's a business. I'm leveraging social media, but I'm against it because like you can't be productive or do well in what you're doing if you're constantly consuming, losing brain cells trying to consume. So it's like that was part of it, whereas like I was strategic from the start because like I said, I had a few e-commerce brands that I was like already strategizing before how to get free eyes on it. But then when you grow bigger as well, like I've connected with some big Web2 influencers that taught me way more than I would have known as well. And that's like, again, the universe coming towards you is like, I had an idea, then all of a sudden everything comes in. Then these people message you, then all of a sudden now you know how to do content better. And then, okay, now you got brand deals. Actually, I can hire 2 more people now and put all the money back in, and you can scale with that. And it's just like constantly just growing and growing. I didn't plan any of this out at all. I just wanted to get somewhere, and then eventually like the goal gets
Fell
there.
into place.
Fell into place, yeah, which kind of ties back to the whole having like a goal and setting that and just being adamant on what's happening.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Trying to get through
100%.
that.
Everything you says very valuable, and I'm sure everyone will love this this episode. Last question. We're kind of jumping back and forth between stuff, so sorry, but what do you think the biggest mistake is that people make in the space?
Like beginners or just in general?
Just in general, but mostly beginners, I guess. They're the ones making more mistakes.
Yeah, I think it's that it's all money orientated. Like it's just come in for the money. And that's what's killing the space as well. It's like
100%.
people here, you can make so much money, which you can, but you got to be good at it. It's like you can make a lot of money off the stock market, but if you're not good at it, or you can make money off fine art or like buying Yeezys or like, but you got to be good at it. And people have this preempted idea that all you got to do is buy this picture. The amount of DMs I get is like, hey bro, I just bought this. Do you think it'll do well? And I'm like, why'd you buy it? And they're like, oh, it was like coming out and this guy's behind it. And I'm like, why else? I was like, that's it. I'm like, dude, like what the
Even
fuck are
I
you
see
doing?
that.
Yeah, even you get that, like from your friends probably or whatever. And I'm like, why do you buy? And that's the biggest thing, because then what happens is that they leave the space, like we said.
I know,
they'll leave it, and then it's like they think it's and they go straight away to like the media's right, it's a scam.
They lead straight to what the media is saying. Yeah.
Exactly, and then it's like fills in. It's like that idea of just like it happens before it already happens, because they're not educating themselves. So it's all, I think educating yourself before you hop in is definitely the biggest thing. But also that there's more than you can do than just making money off flipping. Like you guys are taking that route, like creating a project, a community around it, which is powerful. Like you've got literally the Australian like mullets, you've got like the Australian like some bogans in there as well, which is very Australian classic, which is with like NFTs was to grow in the next like few years ago. You guys are a legacy brand. You're a legacy project in this space in the next like 5 years. And when projects do want to launch later on, they'll like come to you guys. Like you guys have come to projects before you, and there'll be way more coming. So it's also that you can just do way more, do media, do just content, do a project, or like what you guys are doing. You don't just have to be flipping.
Yeah.
100%.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
And I hope I'm manifesting anyway that NFT4Noobs will be like a brand that I can be anywhere in the world kind of thing, and have people that can run the content. I still love making the content, but I'd also like a team to be creating the content as well. Because the only problem, my goal is to like be able to step away and be able to do anything anywhere. But with this, like my face is on it a lot of the time, and that's like I had to do that because that's how you build connection with your audience. But I want like a team essentially, and to become like a meme land or like a 9gag or like a Fuck Jerry. For those guys that know social media, they're like big meme brands or media brands in the Web2 space that people thought were just these content creators that are now literally fucking companies. I was telling these guys before, 9gag, I listened to a podcast today. They started off as a meme page in 2016 or 15 or whatever. And then by 2017, they had VCs investing into them, and they were also part of Y Combinator. This is a fucking meme page that they got create a social media page.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like that's the potential as well in this space. But I hope that is something that NFT4Noobs.
So was it really quick? Was it one of the founders talking about?
It was the founder of 9gag, but he's also the CEO of Meme Land.
And did he say that like it was gonna? Did he know, or was he just starting a meme page?
He's pretty low key, but that comes up. It's with do you know the Nifty Alpha? Those guys. It's on their podcast.
Okay.
And it's like a little segment because you know Nifty Nick, the funny dude that's always interrupting and just talking shit. He was like, because he's big in the investment space. He's like, dude, I know you guys from somewhere. And he's like, that's right, you're in that investment round and you're part of Y Combinator. And they were like, yeah, that was us. Wow. And I was like, I had to pause it. I was like, what the fuck? Like, they're literally a meme page. Like, how did they get that far? It's because they have attention, and attention is dollar signs to these companies. So,
yeah. Well, we appreciate you jumping on so much, man. I think you're literally, what you're telling people to do, you're doing it yourself. And I think your story going from an engineer to doing what you're doing now is inspirational as fuck for people 100%. That are wanting to get out of the 9 to 5. Like you've living proof you're able to do it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And the way that you're able to really break it down for the beginner and give analogies, amazing.
Yeah,
appreciate it. Thanks, boys.
Space so much.
Yeah,
humble, refreshing advice.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you boys having me on as well. It's been I think this is my first in real life podcast, to be honest.
There we go. Yeah, Blokes podcast. Awesome.
Well, you're local, so I'm sure it won't be the last.
Yeah, I know. It's 100%. We'd have to connect after as well.
Bet.
Sure.
Appreciate it.